Hi guys, good day. I hope you're doing good. By the way, I am Jacqueline Florentino from BSED 1A, and today we will talk about the kinds of propositions. So let's start. So there are various kinds of propositions, namely causal, modal, inferential, simple, compound, existential, non-existential, categorical, and hypothetical. Another way of classifying the kinds of propositions is to divide them either as simple or compound, with the latter including its category the modal, categorical, hypothetical, complex, and multiple propositions. However, this book is limited to the discussion of the categorical and hypothetical propositions. So we will only focus on the categorical propositions and hypothetical propositions. So first, we will discuss the categorical propositions rather. So, a categorical proposition is a kind of propositions that expresses an unconditional judgment. This unconditional judgment expressed in a categorical proposition is made manifest in such a way that the predicate either affirms or denies the subject. Okay? So a categorical proposition, it is a statement in which the predicate either affirms or denies the subject, or in which the predicate is denied or affirms of all parts of the subject. Okay? I have here example. All Filipinos are Asian. So our subject term is Filipinos and our predicate term is Asian. So the predicate term Asian affirms the subject term Filipinos. Okay? I hope everything is clear. So let's proceed to the next example. All Filipinos are not Japanese. So our subject term is Filipinos and our predicate term is Japanese or not Japanese. So the predicate term not Japanese denies the subject term Filipinos. Okay? Mao na siya categorical proposition, guys. Mao na siya categorical propositions in which the predicate either affirms or denies the subject. Okay, inasmuch as a categorical proposition is in itself a proposition, it follows that the categorical proposition has three essential parts. So, a categorical proposition has three components. So, the number one is the subject, which is signified with the capital letter S. And the second one is copula, which is signified with the capital letter C. The third one is a predicate, or in which is signified with the capital letter P. Okay, a quick review. What is subject? So a subject, it is a term which is denied or affirmed. Okay? The second one is a copula. Copula is the part of the proposition that expresses the affirmation or denial of the predicate term of the subject term. Okay? For a further understanding or better understanding, copula, it connects the subject and the predicate of the propositions. Muna siya mag-connect sa duha. And the third one is the predicate. Predicate is a term which is denied or either denied or affirmed by the subject. Okay? Let's proceed. Properties or kinds of categorical propositions. So categorical propositions are classified into two perspectives. Number one, from the standpoint of quantity, and number two, from the standpoint of quality. There are two kinds of propositions from the standpoint of quantity. These are the universal and particular. There are also two kinds of propositions from the standpoint of quality. These are the affirmative and negative. Okay? So first we'll tackle about from the standpoint of quantity. So what do we mean by a classification of categorical propositions from the standpoint of quantity? By this, we mean the number of objects to which the proposition is applied. So quantity, it refers to the number of members of the subject. It refers to the number of members of the subject class that are used in the propositions. Okay? So how do we know whether the proposition is universal or particular? So in logic, a universal proposition is defined as a proposition whose subject term is universal, while a particular proposition is a proposition whose subject term is particular. So if the proposition refers to all the members of the subject class, it is universal. If the proposition does not employ all the members of the subject class, it is particular. Okay? And how can we determine that the subject term of a proposition is either particular or universal? By the quantifiers used in the propositions. Propositions na siya, guys, pero naputol lang na siya, ha? Propositions na siya. So let's proceed. The universal quantifiers or quantifiers that makes the subject term universal include every, each, anything, whatever, everybody, any, all, no, and one. The particular quantifiers or quantifiers that makes the subject term particular are, wala siya labot ang R, ha? Ay na magsugod sa much, many, majority, few, some, most, practically all, a portion of, not all, and certain. So in case the proposition has no quantifier, the quantity of the given proposition must be based on the denotation of the proposition. So we will be, if the proposition kuno wala kuno'y quantifier, or if a statement has no quantifier, we will base some meaning niya, some meaning sa sentence, ha? Okay? Okay, example sa universal. Every judgment is an act of the mind. So it is universal because it refers, because of the quantifier every. And every refers to all the members of the subject class. Kuha. Okay, let's proceed. Particular. Some women are nurses. So it is particular because it does not employ all the members of the subject class. And because of the quantifier niya. Okay, let's proceed. So, if ang statement kuno kay wala kuno'y quantifier, mag-base ta sa iyahang meaning. So, example, letter A. Members of the Philippine Army are combatants. So, is it universal or particular? If your answer is universal, you are correct. Why? Because all the members of Philippine Army are trained to be warriors. Diba? So it is universal. So letter B. Beans are leguminous. Is it particular or universal? If your answer is universal, you are correct again, because the truth is that beans are leguminous. Or leguminous, the synonym of leguminous is seeds. So beans are seeds. Okay, so it is universal. So letter C, angels are spiritual creatures. Is it universal or particular? So if your answer is universal, you are correct, because all angels are by their nature spiritual. Okay? Let's proceed to letter D. Catholic priests are saintly. Is it particular or universal? If your answer is particular, you are correct because not all Catholic priests are holy. So there are scandal recently about involving Catholic priests, and that means only a few from among the total population of Catholic priests remains steadfast in their commitment to Christ. Mao na siya, dili tanan Catholic priest kay holy. Example letter D, Filipino boxers are excellent athletes. So is it universal or particular? If your answer is particular, you are correct. Perfect na jud. Why? Because not all Filipino boxers are excellent athletes. And di parehas ni unlike Manny Pacquiao nga makonsider na to siya nga excellent athletes na gyud, di ba? So let's proceed. Okay. Let's proceed from the standpoint of quality. So in the case of propositions not siya guys. In the case of propositions from the standpoint of quality, we mean the relationship established between the subject and the predicate terms, whether they agree or affirmative or disagree or negative with each other, as asserted in a proposition. In a proposition na siya, oy dili na siya proportion na nagduka na siya nag-type do. Okay? So, how do we know that a proposition is either affirmative? Guys, proposition na po na siya guys ha, di na siya proportion. Sorry, Jud. How do we know that a proposition is either affirmative or negative? So, quality first. Wait. Quality is described whether the proposition affirms or denies the inclusion of a subject within the class of the predicate. Okay? So, saan ito pagkaibaw kung ang proposition kay affirmative or negative? The answer lies in the copula. In logic, the rule that can help us determine whether the proposition is affirmative or negative is stated thus: the quality of the copula determines the quality of a proposition. Hence, if the copula of a proposition is affirmative, it follows that the proposition is affirmative. Okay? Okay, I have here examples. Chris Aquino is the host of ABS-CBN game show Game Ka Na Ba? Aramina is a popular bold star. Sharon Cuneta is a noted megastar. So, ang atong copula ani kay word is. Okay? So, mao na siyang affirmative na siya guys kay the subject is contained within the predicate. Ha? Kuhara? Ang ato ang subject kay associate gapon siya sa predicate. I hope kuhara. So let's proceed to the next example. Chris Aquino is not the host of ABS-CBN game show Game Ka Na Ba? Aramina is not a popular bold star. Sharon Cuneta is not a noted megastar. So guys, that three statement is an example of negative. Why? Because the subject term is excluded from the predicate. Nakuha ra na to? Awa. Ang sa affirmative kay ang subject term kay na-contain ra siya within the predicate. While ang negative, ang subject term is sa arita sa negative, ang subject term is excluded from the predicate. Mo siya negative. Okay, mo na siya na negative na siya. Then, ang atong copula na is not. So, bala na kayo. Okay? Okay, let's proceed. We have to bear in mind that the copula of a proposition is usually expressed in the present tense of the verb to be, namely am, is, are, was, were, and where. So these are the affirmative copula, while the am not, is not, are not, was not, and were not, these are the negative copula. Okay? The quantity and quality of categorical propositions may also be combined. When we combine the quality and quantity of propositions, the result will be the following 4 types of categorical propositions. Okay, let's proceed. So there are 4 types of categorical propositions. These are the affirmative, universal affirmative, which is signified with a capital letter A. Number 2, universal negative, which is signified with a capital letter E. The third one is particular affirmative, which is signified with a capital letter I. And the last one is the particular negative, which is signified with a capital letter O. Okay? So I have here example. So A refers to the universal affirmative categorical proposition. Example, all men are mortal. Muna siyang universal affirmative categorical propositions kay ang atong quantifier nga men, or all, refers to all the members of the subject class. And that's why it is affirmative, because the predicate term mortal affirms the subject term men. Okay? Kuhara? Next, B refers to the universal negative categorical proposition. No men are mortal. So no men are mortal. So that's why it is universal negative categorical proposition, because yes, it refers to all the members of the subject class, but the subject term is excluded from the predicate. Mo na siya nga na negative na siya. Okay? Kani, I refers to the particular affirmative categorical proposition. Okay, example, some men are mortal. So that's why it is a particular, because it does not employ all the members of the subject class. It does not employ all the members of the subject class. Okay, and the last one is O. O refers to the particular negative categorical proposition. Example, some men are not mortal. Okay, some men are not mortal. So, the subject term is excluded from the predicate term. Okay, let's proceed. A proposition cannot become one just by a mere presence of use of a subject term. It likewise demands for a predicate term. So dapat di jud na mawala si subject term o si predicate term. Kay connected man na silang duha og asa pod si copula. Okay? Oh, thank you. So guys, that's all, and I hope you learned something. If you have any clarifications, you can message me. Okay, bye guys.